You celebrate the 4th of July. Well, Craig Wirth says he bets any barbecue or gathering you had will never match the two-day epic party that Brigham Young threw 167 years ago. It's worth watching this morning.
The weekly Deseret News of July 12, 1851 gives a glowing account of a 4th of July celebration that remains monumental even today. 3 cannon blasts woke up the town at daybreak, July 4th, 1851. For about the whole town was going to march to a celebration. At 7 o'clock, the city began to be in motion, and the busy throng to assemble. The rattling of carriages, the rumbling wagons, the tramp horse. The destination? Right here, Black Rock and the Great Salt Lake. Oh, but we're getting a little ahead of the story because they had a 4-hour trip in front of them. It would not be a silent trip. A big deal in Utah back then were brass bands like these. They traveled in wagons, and they had the best band of them all. Well, Captain Pitts and the Nauvoo Brass Band played patriotic music all the way out here. Now we don't actually have pictures of William Pitts and the Nauvoo Brass Band back then, but we do know the brass band still plays in Nauvoo, so we could listen to the music. The band led the parade across the dusty land, and 50-year-old Brigham Young followed the band for the whole 20-mile trip. Yes, Black Rock. The early pioneers had a special attraction to Black Rock. Pioneer Heber C. Kimball even built a home out here. Parts of that place lasted into the 1950s. Now, some may remember it.
Black Rock at the edge of the Great Salt Lake is still a pleasure mecca for thousands who come to bathe and thrill in the waters of this inland sea.
And the Pioneer celebration would be one for the ages. 130 carriages in all, heading to the lake. There was a strong wind that day. The brine flies, the tormenting gnats, hid their diminished heads. Well, they arrived about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, July 4th, 1851, and it was now time to climb this big rock. First, though, they put up a giant flag. We know there was a flagpole on Black Rock for years. We don't know if this was a later addition or the one they put up for that day and for celebrations to come. Its length was 45 feet by 14.5 in breadth, with the American eagle stretching its wings on an area of 10 feet. Under and above its left wing with the Utah arms, the beehive, and rising star. So the celebration was just getting started. And the pioneers had a grand old picnic right here. Lots of music and lots of dancing. At 10 o'clock, a cannon fired for prayer, but then dancing continued long into the night. And my goodness, come morning, the band played again. By 10 o'clock, the cannon fired the signal for departure, and the camp again moved in order as it was at the first. And the 4-hour trek through the windy, dusty lands started again. And what was said there that day? We don't know. The whole trek was so amazing. The Deseret News only covered that part of the story. The paper wrote, not having room, we are obliged to defer the speeches and orations to a future time. Craig Wirth, News for Utah.
So there you go. Craig Wirth says he searched the newspapers of July for that next year in 1852 and couldn't find any mention of a repeat party. Apparently the party on July 4th, 1851 was just too epic to duplicate.